it is extremely early in the season, guys. But there are some teams that we expected to be pretty good, or at least decent, that have gotten off to some rough starts. And this is really just an excuse to talk about the Memphis Grizzlies, who are 0-4. Mo, they lost to the Wizards. They got beat by the Wizards. They didn't just lose to the Wizards. They got beat. That score it was not indicative of actually how bad Memphis was in that game. What is happening with the Grizzlies?
I mean, the obvious thing, right, is the Ja situation where we know that's being a massive one in that regard. But I think the stuff that's disappointing is, I mean, the Steven Adams injury, big one for them, obviously, and a massive blow to their front court, and no Brandon Clark, so they're really small, very thin up front. But also, it's been disappointing watching Jaren Jackson Jr. You know, like he hasn't done. You know, this is a situation where you're like, all right, you got to step up, and it hasn't really shown up yet. I think they do have a ton of injuries. They're better than an 0-4 team that they showed now, but man, it's scary. And when you just look at their point differential, Dave, like, you know, -8, I think it's where they're at. Like, you know, I know early in the season that stuff might not matter, but it's like they're not. It doesn't feel like they're even in games at times.
Well, so this is a continuation of a trend. They struggle in the half court, Seth. Their half court offense is not very good. They rely a lot on offensive rebounding. No Steven Adams, I think, has hurt their offense more than no Ja Morant.
Nah, calm down. I see what you're saying, but calm down. Like, you know, it's like, all right, well, yeah, you take a top, you know, whatever you want to say about Ja, 15, 20 player in the league. Like, that's like we like Steven Adams. We're a pro Steven Adams podcast, but
we're pro offensive rebounds is really what it is. But
no, it's they just, I mean, basically you just look with all the like with Ja out, they just all of a sudden their talent is so threadbare. And I think we touched on this. I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago that they might be like the second most depressing situation in the league right now. Behind, ironically enough, I think we mentioned Washington is possibly the most depressing. So
I don't know. Jordan Poole seems to be having a great time. So
yeah, and everyone else is really enjoying the Jordan Poole experience. But you know, I'll agree with Mo that being disappointed a little bit. Like Desmond Bane has given them like kind of what you could have expected. Jaren Jackson is kind of, I think we may have seen what the top end of Jaren Jackson is. It's a little in that sort of that Pascal Siakam kind of range where, okay, he's a great second, third guy in your team. But if you ask him to be the best guy, it's too much.
Has anybody's stock dropped more in the last 3 months than Jaren Jackson? I mean, he's been playing NBA basketball again for a week. But it feels like since the World Cup, everyone's just kind of lower on Jaren Jackson. I mean, the foul thing, obviously, we know, it's not necessarily fair.
I think it's fair because I think the thing is we just haven't seen the growth you want, right? And I think Seth's saying, okay, so this is what happens is we're seeing him hit his ceiling. And I think that's the thing is, and I think we all, and maybe this is our fault, as podcasters, media, and pundits, maybe we expected more from him than he's capable of giving us, and I think that's the thing. Like I find myself in that same trap with Evan Mobley. I know it's just his third season, but like, you know, watching his game against the Knicks yesterday, and I was incredibly frustrated just watching him not get physical. I mean, he had opportunities. You know, he had opportunities to get into Mitchell Robinson's body and go up for a shot. And instead he pivots out of it and tries to find a pass. And it's like, man, certain point, you got to go through him.